Hello, folks. How's it going? Long time no see. Welcome to the season launch. We'll wait for a couple of minutes. I think Vashni just completed the intro to web development stream. So I'm not sure if folks would be around, sticking around. And if yes, then hello, welcome. Meanwhile, uh, I saw the end bits of the stream. I think the website turned out to be pretty good, hosted on GitHub.io. So you can make use of GitHub to also host your content, right? Isn't that cool? If you have not done that before, of course, right? Okay. Oops. Anyways, hello, folks. People on Twitch, you may need to shut Twitch and come back because it does not auto refresh. If you're on your laptop or something, then I think you can just do a refresh and that should do the trick. And let's see, we have a lot of folks joining in. I'll wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start. Meanwhile, if you have not registered for the session, let me share the registration link. So this is the registration for part 1 of our actually 6-part series. Okay, so you are going to be stuck with me for 12 hours, 12-ish hours, I would say, adding an ish towards the end because uh, the way the sessions are divided or the way that I have taken up the time uh, based on my availability is like I'm doing 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours over 3 days. So today I'll have 4 hour session continuously. Okay, so I have this 2 hour session and then again 2 hour session. But I'll give you a break of 15 minutes in between so that you can have dinner, lunch, breakfast, or just stretch around, have some water, and take a break from the screen. So, and I need to have lunch because it would be lunchtime for me. So, yeah, we have 4 hours today. Then I have 4 hour of session tomorrow. Again, the same pattern. I'll give you a break in between 15 minutes, and then 4 hour session on Wednesday. Uh, that is part 5 and part 6. Again, break in between. So that's not a problem. And between in these 6 sessions, we are going to build a ton of things. I'm literally going to start from scratch for this one. And before I dive deep into what we are going to do, let me introduce myself and then we'll go into this. So, for folks who are joining me for the very first time, and this is your first time attending a Global Hack Week, first time attending my stream, uh, hello, my name is Utkarsh. I prefer to go by UT because that's how everyone knows me. Everyone in MLH, everyone at my work. Uh, and I am a coach at Major League Hacking. I am a streamer at Major League Hacking as well. And I found out after the end of my last Global Hack Week streams that I actually completed 75 streams, more like 78 or 79 now. So I have done like there are 78 videos with my face on it out on the YouTube channel of Major League Hacking. So yeah, so that basically says I've been streaming for a very long time. And I think I've streamed nearly all of Global Hack Weeks, unless uh, for some reason I'm not able to. And I try to bring or, build projects. I have a very project driven streams so that you all can follow along and everyone can learn. I am not going to say that I know everything exactly. Most of the things that I to stream on are the things that I came across at work, or I started learning, or I found it intriguing, and then I'm like, you know what, this would make for a very good stream, and I am pretty sure people would benefit from it. So one such thing that we are going to do in the six-part stream is D3.js. Okay. So what is D3.js? If this is your first time hearing about D3.js, D3 stands for Data Driven Documents, and it is a JavaScript library for creating, some dynamic, interactive data visualizations in the browser itself. Now, the difference is that if you have a charting library, okay, now the name of the stream is slightly misleading. I just wanted to keep it short and understandable. Uh, but if you talk about a charting library, example, let's say there's Plotly, which is good for JavaScript as well as Python. There is Chart.js, HiCharts, SciCharts, and so many others. The charting libraries offer a pre-built chart type. Okay, and I understand that just me speaking here will not make much sense, so I'm going to also uh, showcase some stuff. So this is a charting library. Okay, uh, the charting library will offer you, as I said, some pre-built charts. So you will have like, oh, this is how you create a line chart, and you can see the code for it, and it is dot chart in a container. You can give a title and subtitle, what is on the x-axis, what is on the y-axis, the series of data that it needs to plot, and some responsive conditions based on where the legend should be, and yes, so on and so forth. And it's a pretty good library, right? There we go. That's a charting library. It gives you some pre-built charts, and it allows you to kind of configure them as well. Okay. Oh, there is a very interesting suggestion here, Matplotlib. Yeah, again, I would say nearly a charting library, but it is more like plotting of your data. Okay, these differences are so subtle, so nuanced, that it makes it very difficult to kind of categorize them. But I would say, okay, yes, kind of a charting library. Now that is, yeah, as I was talking about charting libraries, but D3 actually gives you uh, a more raw format. Okay, so what does that mean? So example, in this case, the y-axis and the x-axis, okay, they must be, uh, there's a description of them. X-axis has accessibility and range description. Okay, that's a description. Y-axis has some text, but where does it say? Okay, so point start. It says 2010. You start from 2010. Okay, where does it say how much to divide it with? Okay, like you start from 2010 and you have to plot this much of data, but where does it say that the next one should be 2012, then 2014, then 2016, then 2018? I can't find a reference to it. Okay, let me know if you all can. Secondly, this y-axis. Okay, so the y-axis has the 0 to 200k. Where does that get it from? Okay, who defined it? Again, can't find a reference to it. Uh, Definitely not here, which is fine. But it actually got all of this data and properly divided them or added them. Uh, and like manufacturing starts from 43,000 here, and I don't find that number anyways. Oh no, that's installation developers. There we go, 43,934, and yeah, goes up and forth. Okay, so it made an assumption based on the data, and it was like, you know what, I think to ensure that the data fits inside this much box. Let me divide or build the y axis in this manner. Okay. Uh, So it told like the data set itself, or the charting library, not the data set, the charting library based on your data decided how to break it up. If you have not provided any parameters, you can provide it parameters and you can say, oh, I want this much of gap, I want to have a gap of 10k, okay, increments of 10k. Sure, it will do it for you. So the charting library makes that decision. Now, these are the things that are not in D3. D3 gives you a complete control over it. Okay. It tells you that imagine you're writing JavaScript, you can draw the axis uh, as and how you want. You can literally draw the axis separately. Okay. You can draw the lines as and how you want. Okay. So it gives you a very raw, complete control over the visual output. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, and also very hectic, I would say. Okay, it's not really easy. It's understandable, but it's not really easy because you literally have to build this whole thing from scratch. Okay, literally write down the axis, write down the values, write down the y-axis, write down the values, make the division, do the math of how it breaks. But D3 also gives you some very powerful APIs, which makes these jobs a bit more easier. So you don't have to worry too much about it. There are things that are available which will make your job easier. Okay. But in general, too much control also makes you build some really, really, really beautiful visualizations, which no one could have thought of, or none of the charting libraries actually support. Okay, so that's the power of D3. Now let's take a look at D3 very quickly. Okay, on the first look, it looks like any other charting library. Like, oh, yeah, charts. It makes charts, right? It plots data, but it could be much more than that. Okay? It can be so much more than just charts. And as you can see, it allows properly creating stuff, and it allows you to kind of add things to it. It allows you to uh, really go into the mathematical details of how your visualizations need to come out as, and structure them. And yeah, I think that's good enough introduction. It's very powerful. It allows you to do a lot of things that a normal charting library would not allow you because it is very restricted. It is for mass appeal, as I would say. It's for the use cases that are everyone's needs rather than your specific needs. Okay. Now, before I go further, there are a few charts. Let me just go over them. So there's this. Is anyone completely new here? Never used D3 or React? So don't worry, folks. It is okay that you don't know D3 or React. We'll start with the very basic of it, which is SVG elements. Okay. Now, the expectations here are that you need to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript a bit. But you don't have to know about SVGs. So I'll start with SVGs. We'll actually understand how SVGs work because D3 underneath uses SVG. Okay. So we will start with that. Then we'll go over to you know D3. We'll go over to D3 and we'll be like, okay, let's start by using some of the most popular, most demanded uh, features of not features APIs of D3. So we'll go over that. We'll focus on that. We'll build some smallish, I would say, visualizations, and then the third would be that we'll build some bigger projects where the knowledge of JavaScript is essential, but I'll try to explain most of it. And then we'll, since I have 6 sessions, I've divided into, beginner to a bit intermediate. I'll never say advanced. I don't think there's something called as advanced. It's a unpopular opinion. Okay, so then we'll use React to build out some charts of, depending on the time, maybe one project or maybe two project. But I want to build a big project with React one. And it is okay if you don't know any of these. I will explain some bits and pieces as we go along, but also at some points, if it is getting too much into details of, oh, this is how it exactly works under the hood, I'm just going to say, take it at a face value. Just take it like, kind of, because I said it works this way. You can take it as a face value at some point. And yeah, maybe you can watch one of the previous videos where I have done introduction to React and introduction to HTML and JavaScript. You can find all of them on the YouTube channel of Major League Hacking. If you don't have a link, let me share it. Okay, there we go. That's the YouTube channel of Major League Hacking. You can find all the past streams from so many amazing streamers about, learning React, let's say, or learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript. There was a session right before this about learning web development. So you can find all of that there. And there's a question, still don't understand the difference between D3 and other plotting libraries. Other plotting libraries, as I said, they give you an exact way to plot stuff, which means that they have certain directives of, okay, to plot a line chart, you use the line chart API that they have, which is by doing high charts dot chart and there is dot line or something like that. Yeah, it's a series and blah blah blah. It gives you exact APIs of how to build it. Now, example, let's say if I want to do a pie chart, then again, there would be an exact API of how you build a pie chart. There we go. Chart type is pie chart. Okay. And that's it. So any other charting library will tell you which types of charts you can plot, and these are the APIs that will help you plot. You can use your own data, but you are kind of restricted to what they are giving you. With D3, you get to create whatever you want. You get to create, let's say, the outline of the globe. Okay, you can create the outline of the globe. You can create the outline of the countries. You can uh, go beyond, like, on zooming, which state or county do you want to show. Uh, which way it rotates, which way it revolves. You can do all of that because these are all the things that SVG would allow you to do. We'll take a look at that. Yes, it provides you more control, I would say. uh, yep, cool. So that is some intro about D3. Now, a quick feature feature things, if I have to talk about example, like, uh, it binds the data to DOM elements, which means that the HTML elements that you see on your web page will transform as the data changes. Okay, and it creates SVG based visualizations, as I talked about. That is why our first session would be focused on learning all about SVG, how it works. We'll create some, words, sentences. We'll start from very basics of SVG and take it from there. Then you can have interactivity like zooming, panning, tooltips. So don't worry, you don't have to build it. D3 gives you APIs for it. Okay. Now, It is extremely flexible. It has excellent performance, but it has a very steep learning curve. Okay, D3, I mean, and it is moderately easy to use. So D3 itself was very, I would say, difficult, very raw, but then came around like observable, and you can actually take a look at observable, where it has charting like abilities already, where which means that it has how do you draw a line chart, how do you draw a pie chart. So they have a bit more no, not flexible, just a bit more restricted APIs like any other charting library. Okay, for that example. So legends, you want to create legends, you can just use the API to create all the legends. This is very similar to what a charting library would give you. So if you want to use the performance of D3, but you are not bothered about, uh, what, uh, you are not bothered about creating the access. You're not bothered about where to place the legends and how do I make it look better, make it look beautiful, I would say. Uh, then you can use the observable plot libraries, and yeah, that allows you to do all of that. Okay, it works more like a charting library at this point. uh, and this is, as the description says, JavaScript library for bespoke data visualization, whereas observable is uh, JavaScript library. Exploratory is a bit messy term, but the idea is it gives you some pre-built functionalities which you could use. Okay, very simply, you don't have to create them from scratch or very raw. You can just use whatever is available. So the difference is, example, like look at this here, D3 dot scale linear, D3 dot create, you literally creating SVG elements, and here that goes from like, I don't know, 100 lines to 10 or less, where you're like, oh, let me use the library and let me just build it. But we are not going to look into observable, but that's just for you to know that there is something like that which exists, which has taken D3 and they have created some pre-built API, not pre-built, but more like APIs, which makes it much more easier for you to work with it. And that is very similar to any other charting library that exists. Okay, cool. So that is about D3. And okay, now how these sessions will work. So I have created a repository on GitHub. If you're not aware of GitHub, if this is your very first time working with it, you can watch our streams on Git Good with Git, I think. Uh, that's how it's pronounced, if I'm not wrong. So you can learn about Git and GitHub and how they're different things, not the same thing, even though GitHub has Git in it. So Git and GitHub, how they work and how you can, leverage the power of Git in your day-to-day work, in your day-to-day workflow as well. Along with that, but if I have to give you a very quick overview, I will share that fork this repository. There's this fork button here. So forking is like creating a copy of my code over to your user. So this is my user, but if you have your own GitHub account, you can fork this repository and it will create a copy on your user. Once you have forked it, then go to your GitHub repository. Okay. And then you can go into the code and you can clone it. Okay, via HTTPS or SSH, or you can also open it online on code spaces. Okay, so open the forked version, not my version, of course. I don't think you'll be allowed to open my version on code spaces. And if you have cloned it locally, then you can work along with me and you can push to uh, forked version, your local changes to your repository. But at any point, if you're, let's say, making changes and you are falling behind, Then on your forked version, you will see a sync fork button. Yeah, something like this. So sync fork, or maybe update branch, I don't know which one. So sync fork, I think mostly it will tell you that, oh, your branch or your version of the code is behind my version of the code. So then you can just sync them together. You can sync the repositories. I'm not going to go into too much details, but yeah, fork the repository. I'll make changes. I'll push to my code base here, and you can uh, sync your version of the fork. And the other thing is that if you're developing locally, two things that I would suggest you have. One is Node.js installed on your system. So you can just download Node.js. I think I've shown that too many times now. It comes up in my history. Yeah, you can install Node.js from the homepage. Okay, you can install the Node.js from the homepage, and there's this button, install Node.js, which takes you to the download page. Wow. And then you can choose what type of system do you have, which version to get. So, example, I want to get 22, which is the latest for Windows, and I want to download it as none of these. I want a pre-built binary. So Windows running on x86, is it? x64 architecture, and you can get the Windows installer, the MSI one. Double click on it, and it should allow you to yeah, go through it uh, on installation. If you install Node.js, you will also install uh, npm, comes packaged together. So that's just one thing to note. The other thing that you may need for local development, if you don't already have it, is Visual Studio Code. So, oh, they changed it to AI code editor. Nice. So again, you can choose which version to download depending on what your system is. Yeah, there we go. Let me just share this. So if you want to locally develop, not you use code spaces or anything similar, then you can download Visual Studio Code on your machine and take it from there. Uh, Depending on which machine do you have, you can do the user installer. If you have your own laptop, go for the system installer. And yeah, that's it. Okay. And any other questions that I may have missed? What do we do? Yes, use code spaces. That is the easiest, I would suggest. Okay, and a very quick diversion, like give me like 2 minutes for this. So, if you remember in our previous Global Hack Week, we had started building this GHW Doodle platform, which was all about creating a platform where you can doodle. Okay, so I had raised a few issues, and I'll say that successfully uh, one of two of them have been worked on and closed by two different people. So people are contributing to this open source project. If you're not aware of it, you can visit the website, and there's the Doodle platform. It allows you to draw doodles. Okay, so like literally draw kind of a MS Paint like vibe. Uh, Draw a rectangle, draw a circle. Okay, you can fill it with, let's say, some colors. You can choose your own color and you know fill it. Oops, with that you can also do Control Z with Control Z for undo, Control S for save, 1 to 5 for tools, E for eraser. Polygons is now a new feature. So yeah, that is our Doodle canvas, and yeah, appreciate all the open source contributions that folks are doing. This was done by a user, uh, a contributor who added the polygon, the star, as well as the arrow. So that was cool. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, just a slight diversion from our usual. So this was one of the previous projects that we had done in one of the previous streams. Just wanted to show that because I think it's a good achievement there for folks who want to contribute. And the contributions are still open. There are like 8 issues that you can take over and contribute to, fix it. Few of them are assigned, but few of them are not. Okay, cool. Let's go back to our charting with D3.js. And oh, 7 folks. Nice. Thank you so much. You can also give a star rating, by the way. And stars helps satisfy my ego there. Uh, okay, cool. Now, if you have done it and if you have opened it in code spaces or you have cloned it locally, your version, not mine. So not my user repository, your user repository. This is my user. Okay. If cloned it locally, then and if you have opened it in VS Code, this is what you would end up with. Okay. Exactly what I have. And oh, that's a joke. I make this joke in every stream that you can start this repository and satisfy my ego. You don't have to. It's not a compulsion. I'm not like here. Please like and subscribe. Don't have to. Okay. Only if you like it. If only if it makes a difference for you. Do it. Don't do it otherwise. Okay. Uh, can you show again how to clone it on code spaces? Yes, sure. On your version, okay, you have forked the version, so you will end up with a similar looking page, but with your user here, okay, username will be different. The URL will have the different username. This will be different. Now you can go into code, and there's this code spaces, and you can do a create code spaces on main, okay, and that starts VS Code in browser. So you have everything kind of preset up without having to go through, oh my God, what do I do? Okay. How do I set it up? What do I have to do? XYZ. Okay. I am going to close this code space. I am going to develop it locally. I love local development. I want to stop this code space. Definitely stop the code space if you're not using it, and delete it when not in use, because I think there's a limit to how many you can have before they start charging you. Okay. If you don't have your credit card set on your GitHub, so that's fine. They can't take money if you don't have any way to give it. But if you do have your credit card or debit card or attached to your GitHub account, then beware and always shut it down. Don't take my word for it. How many free code spaces are allowed? GitHub. Uh, Christmas. Okay, free for personal account, storage per month, this core hours, this much. I'm not okay. There's not a number of limit. It's the core usage, the how much CPU, how much memory you use, and how much storage use. A core hour is a measure of compute usage. Yes, a two core machine used for 1 hour equals 2 core hours. Yeah, math, simple math. uh, yeah, keep an eye. Don't have too many code spaces and close as you go along if you're not using it. Okay, that would be my suggestion, my observation. And let me just close all of that, close that, close that. And coming back to our code base. So there are two things currently. One is the README, which is just this much, and there's a git ignore because I know we will need it, and I just used one git ignore from my previous project. Actually, I can tell you which project I used it from. I used it from this color palette generator. If you're not aware of this project, this was also built in one of the global hack weeks, though it is incomplete. I have some changes which I have not pushed. There's a newer version out, supposed to be out. But okay, so I copied the git ignore from this one because I know at some point I'm going to create a React project and I will need a git ignore. So I just copied that and put it in the root. Okay. Git ignore is basically telling Git to ignore these files when you push them to GitHub. Okay. Cool. Now, how do we start? We will start very quickly by building our first folder. Enough talking. I think it's time we start learning. And as I said, we'll first start with learning HTML, not HTML, sorry, SVG. So let me create a new folder called as learn-svg. Learn.svg will have two files. There is an index.html in this, which is currently empty, and there would be an index.css. Okay, again, currently empty. Let me align this to right hand side, and I can just squeeze this in because I won't be using it much yet. And what else? Let me zoom in the screen a bit, and let me go away from screen so you can focus totally on screen and you don't have to keep looking at me. Okay. Now, if this is your very first time learning about HTML, I'm not going to spend too much time, but let me just give you a quick overview. So I don't know if this is a plugin or this is VS Code, but if you do uh, exclamation, it shows emit abbreviation. And there we go. I have created a very simple HTML document. Okay. What does this document contain? Initially on the top, this is HTML. The full form of HTML is hypertext markup language, and that means this is the markup. Okay, this is what the skeleton of uh, what will be visible on the browser is written in. So there's my markup, and my markup has a definition that this is a doc type HTML. You can have doc type XML, which is XML markup, extensible markup language. Okay, and these are the only two that I remember from top of my head right now. So this is to specify exactly that this is a HTML type, not XML type. Then what is the language? This is so this is HTML, which is the root element, and if you have this, that's how the browser will know that this is where the actual content starts from. Okay, I've defined that the language of this code is English. Uh, so everything that we write here and every text that we write is supposed to be in English, but you can have other languages as well. The head signifies whatever you see here on the top on the tab name. So if I hover over it, you see this tab names. So this is what is signified in the head portion. The head portion also has, if I go over to one of our previous, no, this one is bad, this one. Okay. So the head portion also has all the SEO related descriptions. Okay, you might have heard of the term SEO. So example, so this is the head portion, and this is huge, but here I have some meta tags which contribute towards the SEO of this, which makes it search engine optimized. Okay, in a way, uh, so that if someone searches for Doodle platform, uh, Netlify, do you think my project will come up on top? Nope, it doesn't. Just Doodle platform. Nope, it doesn't. So mine is not really optimized and not really used, and uh, Chrome does not think it's worthy of coming up on top. But yeah, you define all these characteristics in the head portion of your HTML document. Currently, we are just saying that the character set is UTF-8, which is a widely used character set. You have UTF-16, UTF. There's 16 as well. I'm not sure if there's a UTF-32, but there's ASCII for another example. Then this meta tag is to instruct the device, which could be a laptop, which could be a desktop, which could be a mobile, which could be iPad or tablet or whatever. It tells it that the width of this page should be equal to the device width unless changed by CSS, and the initial scale is 1.0. 1.0 means 100% zoomed in. It is not zoomed in too much. So this, if I do control plus, this is 1.1. Okay, the initial scale is 1.1, which means it is zoomed in a bit. If I do this 1.25, like that means that page when opened for the very first time by a user should be 125% zoomed in. 100% is the exact scale. Like when a user opens the page, it should be at 100% uh, of it, not zoomed out, not zoomed in, exactly precise. You can also set a maximum scale. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but you can set a maximum dash scale, which mean set it to 1.0, which means a user will not be able to do the pinch to zoom or anything. Okay, uh, so they won't be able to zoom in, they won't be able to zoom out, they won't be able to do pinch to zoom. Okay, then the title, this signifies what is up here. So let me run this. So how do we run this? Thanks to VS Code, you can install an extension called as Live Server. It is by Ritwik Day. Let me share the link. So you can also install it in Code Spaces. Code Spaces also has this extensions tab. So you can go over there and you can search for Live Server by Ritwik Day. And once you have installed it, it should be visible on the bottom right of your code spaces as well. Okay, go live. You go over to the HTML file, the index.html in this case, and click on go live. It should start a new server, and the server will open in your web browser, and it opens on localhost 5500. And this is the folder name, and this is the file name. And this document is basically the title here. Okay. There's a question which I want to answer before I move ahead. What's the difference between the markup language and programming language? So the programming is to allow changing. Okay, if you have to understand it very simply, uh, a markup is like a skeleton of your content. Okay, so what that means is that if I actually disable JavaScript. Hmm, okay, let me think. Okay, let me go over to Doodle platform. Okay, so this website has JavaScript. Okay, so now if I go over to settings, uh, okay, not this settings. I think it would be this settings, and then I go over to privacy and security, and I go over to site settings, and I go over to JavaScript, and I say do not allow sites to use JavaScript, and I reload this page. There's nothing. Okay, there is the title still visible, so that means that there is some HTML loaded. Okay, all this is loaded, but there is nothing in the JavaScript. All it has is div ID root. Okay, so my HTML signifies my markup. Okay, and we use programming languages to actually go through that markup, and then you can add to that markup, you can remove from that markup. So as soon as I enable JavaScript, okay, it has added this parts to the markup. Okay, the markup has these elements added. So you do that by using some programming language. In our case, we use JavaScript programming language to enhance our markup. Okay, So markup is the structure, and you use programming languages to enhance your markups or just do some sort of calculations, some sort of changes, rendering, not rendering, bits and pieces there, here and there. Okay, so now if I change this, document is not a very good name. I'm going to say this is learn SVG. I also need to keep an eye on the time. Okay, so now if I go over here, there we go. This title has changed to learn SVG. Okay, now in this markup, I'm going to just have a h1 tag here saying learn SVG, and that should show up here. This is a live server, so I don't think I need to reload it again and again. I don't know what went wrong there. Okay, cool. Uh, yeah, there we go. This is learn SVG, and this is in its proper raw format, no styling whatsoever. But I do need some sort of CSS reset. So I'm going to go over to my index CSS, and I'm going to say for all elements, okay, star means all the elements. What are the elements here? Head is an element. H1 is an element, HTML itself is an element. So for all elements, I want to ensure that the margin is going to be 0, padding is going to be 0, and the box sizing is going to be border box. So as soon as I do that, this was before, and the after does not change. Why? Because I've created the CSS file, but I am no, I should basically go back and change sites and use JavaScript. Yes, it's annoying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So I have added some CSS, but it does not take into effect. Why? Because why? HTML does not know about the CSS file. So we need to link it. So we can literally use link. And the way to do it is you do link, and then you do I'm used to the shortcut, but I think you do a rel, which means it's what's the relationship, and this is a style sheet, and then you give it a reference. So I'm going to say that it is in the same folder index.css. Okay, so now it has a reference, and there we go. uh, you can see the difference. So there was some margin and padding. Okay, so margin and padding is some spacing around the element. So this is my h1 element, and there was a margin of 21.440 around all of it. Okay, so that is default to h1. The body itself also has a default margin of 8 all around. Okay, to ensure that the content is not sticking to the border and there is some space for users to actually see the content properly. But with my css reset, I'm saying I don't care. Okay, everything should be aligned exactly. Why do I do this, or why do people do this in general? uh, this is because they want to do the calculation of the styles properly. If there is a default 8 pixel around the whole body, and then you start adding some more spacing, let's say you add your own 8 pixels, so now the difference would, like, from the border, from the edge of your screen, the text would be 16 pixels inside, but maybe you only want it to be 8 pixels inside. So yeah, to help in those kind of calculations, to basically see exactly what you have written, you first do a css reset. Lots of diffs, well, that's thanks to React. Right? I mean, I definitely have less diffs, come on. There's definitely a use of main somewhere. So the div ID root, that comes from React, but there's a main, there's h1, and okay, there's some divs. Sorry. But yeah, there are the elements like label, input. Yeah, they are there. They are there. Buttons, stuff like that. Okay, cool. Coming back. So that's a quick intro about CSS and HTML. Now, a bit more CSS that I can add is this. I'm going to say for my HTML and for my HTML in general, or I can just be very specific for HTML, for head, and for body. So I'm applying the same style at three different places. Not needed, but just bear with me. So font family is going to be the basic Arial Helvetica sans serif. Okay, and there we go. That's the difference. Okay, before it was Times New Roman. Now it is this, and now if I add a margin of 20 pixels, and there you go. This is 20 pixels away. Okay, and how am I so sure? Because if I go over to the layout and I go over to the box, there's a 20 pixel margin around. Okay, the content is here. No border, no padding, just 20 pixels margin around everywhere. Okay, now the only problem is that 20 pixel is around HTML. It's also around, like, not the head, doesn't matter, but around the body as well. So overall, my content is technically 40 pixels inside. So I am going to just say that this applies only to HTML and not uh, the head and the body, because yeah, it will be additive. Okay, so for the HTML, which is the parent or the root of everything, okay, that is the beginning of everything. I have said that the font family should be this and the margin should be this. Okay, cool. Uh, that is it. What else? Nothing else. Now, next steps is, now I'm not going to teach HTML, but I will show some quick things. Number one, so you have different types of HTML elements. Okay, HTML elements list. Uh, what would be an easier list? I definitely remember there was some PDF going around. I guess this one. Nope. Nope. Okay, I'll go for MDN docs. Okay, so you can read about all the elements that HTML has, okay, right here. Okay, all the HTML tags, HTML elements, HTML tags uh, on this reference guide. Okay, very simply, the things that we will use in our case would be divs, okay, which is for division, okay, and the main star of the evening is SVG. Okay, so the SVG is defining a new coordinate system and the viewport. It is used for SVG documents. Now, the difference in SVG documents is, since they are coordinates, okay, so if you are zoomed in or zoomed out, they don't, like, in terms of images, they don't blur, because all it is a path tracing. It says that based on the viewport, if I tell it to go from one position to other position, if I'm zoomed in, it will go from that position to that position. Okay. If I am zoomed out, it will go from that position to that position again. Okay. Because it is nothing but a mathematical line. Okay. So that is why SVG images do not get blurry, uh, because all they are literally coordinates, okay, lines over some mathematical coordinates. And I want to focus a bit more on it, because that's what D3 also uses internally. Everything is nothing but a coordinate. To draw any beautiful uh, diagrams, any beautiful visualizations that you see, they are nothing but just tracing or going from one point in our viewport to other point. And to make you aware slash understand, I want to focus this first session on that one. Okay. Uh, so we'll start with SVGs itself, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. As I said, I'm going to use a lot of div tag. H1 is for heading one. You have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. And HTML is really nice. It goes like, okay, you have H6 and then you have H7. And no, you don't, but it's okay. I'm not going to throw an error. Okay. Uh, okay, so I am going to create a div tag, which is my first division. And let's create our very first SVG. Okay, our very first SVG is going to be a line. So SVG is very similar to a div element. Okay, SVG element is a is like a div element as well. There's not much difference in terms of what HTML knows. Okay, so I create a SVG element. As you can see, if you open something, you also need to close it. So I've opened a SVG and I've closed the SVG. Now SVG has some predefined shapes. So we'll start with a predefined shape. I'm going to say draw a line. Okay. So I've written line SVG, inside that a line. Let's go and see what happens here. Nothing. Okay. I'm also going to get rid of this one. Okay. So SVG draw a line didn't do much. Why? Because I've asked it to draw a line, but it is it doesn't know where to start and where to end. Now to draw a line, what do you need? You need the starting coordinates, right? So you need the x1 value that it starts from, let's say 0, and the y1 value. Okay. So that is, let's say 10. I say 10, I type 20. Nice. So x1 and y1. So that if I'm drawing a line, and let's go over to draw.io. Okay. So if this is my coordinate system, you should see this box. I am telling it to draw a line, okay, from, okay, I'm telling it to draw a line from, let's say, assuming, like, ignore the numbers, but x1 says 0 and y1 says 10. So I'm telling it to start drawing a line from here. And then I also need a end position. Do I want to draw a straight line? Then my x values will change, but my y value should remain the same, right? So I'm going to say that the x2, or the end of it, should be 400, but the y2 is going to be 10. Okay, so I did that. Let's come back to our learn SVG. Doesn't show anything. Sad. Okay, I want it to have a color, so I'm going to say that it is stroke equals black. Ah, right here. And now if I come back, there we go. There is a line. Okay, so it starts from some coordinate, which is what we have defined, 0, and it goes up to 400. So that is the length. The y position is from that coordinate system. Now, by default, SVG boxes are of this 300 cross 150 size. Okay, as you may notice, and the line is drawn inside it. Okay. What if I want this line to be smaller? I can change that to 200, and there we go. The line is now smaller. So the box is still 300 cross 500. SVG boxes are 300 cross 500, but the line itself is from this position to that position. I can make some live changes as well here. So hopefully this is zoomed in enough. I say that actually you start from 10. Okay, so then that means it does not start from the edge of the SVG box. It starts 10 points inside. Okay. Uh, Y1 is 10, but Y2, I want it to be 100. Okay, so y2 is 100. So now, as you can understand slash imagine, the positive coordinates are down. Okay, if I make it minus 100, does that work? Yes, it does. The negative coordinates on are on the upside, but there's just not enough space. So I'm going to say that you actually start at y50. Okay, so you are starting 50 below this line, like this ends, and then you are stretching to x2 200, which is your length, but y2 is minus 100. That's too much. Let's say minus 10. Okay, so negative coordinate system. So negative is up, positive is down in our case. Okay, so just kindly remember that. If I say go to negative to 50, this is same as y1, so it's a straight line. But if I say that go to 60, it is slightly below my y1, and there we go. It has a line which goes downward. Okay, a downward slope. So that is drawing a line in SVG. Okay, very, very simple. Hope that makes sense. So the line element is used to draw a single straight line. Okay, and you saw that we are using the coordinate system, and we are defining what is the starting point, what is the end point, x1 y1 and x2 y2, and depending on the mathematical calculation of where the y1 is versus where the y2 is, it it just goes from that point to that point, draws a stroke, and it's like, oh, it's actually going downwards. Okay, it's a curved line. I want it straight. There we go. Cool. So I am going to say that this starts at 10 and y1 starts at 100, x2 is 200, and y2 is 100 again. Okay, or let's go for uh, this should be 50. Cool. So that is my line element. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, all we did was use SVG and draw a line. Now that is it. Okay, now I'm going to create another div. So I'm going to copy this div, okay, and copy the SVG, copy the line. So I have two lines now, but I want to, oh, there's a question. Can we use PNG or JPEGs? For what? For the charting? So for this one, I will say like we want to learn about SVGs. So we'll stick with SVGs, unfortunately. Sorry. Okay, now the next one that we can draw, which is a predefined shape, is a rectangle. RECT, rectangle. I do that and everything disappears because this is not valid. Okay, the code that I have is not valid here. So in rectangle, what do you need? You need the initial points. Okay, of course you need the initial points. So you need the x value and you need the y value. So this is where it starts from. Okay, so I say it starts from x0 y50. And what is the width of the rectangle and what is the height of the rectangle? Okay, that should help me create a rectangle, right? So I say that the height of the rectangle is 100, 200. I say 100, I type 200. Wow, okay, I'll stick with 200. And the width of the rectangle is going to be 50. Okay, so now that I have done that, there we go. This is my rectangle, and I can also change the color. Okay, so I can say that the fill color is actually orange, and there we go. So that is our rectangle. Now let's try and dissect it. So the x coordinate, what does that signify? Which edge is it pointing to? Is it the top left edge or is it the bottom left edge? So if I make it 100, let's say, okay, so it actually moves on the x-axis. So it's not really, again, understandable if it is top left or top right. What about the y-axis? If I make it 1, okay, okay. Uh, hmm. So the y-axis, I want to make it 150. Okay, where did it go? It went beyond my container. Okay, my container was 300 cross 150. My y-axis, my rectangle has gone outside of the container and it is not visible. Okay, let's make it 75, and there it is. Let's make it 5. Okay, there it is. Let's make it 0. Okay, and that is my full rectangle. The height, I'm going to say it is 10, and the width is also going to be, there is going to be 20, 100. Okay, so now I have a stretched rectangle x0 y0. Let's start from there. X0 y0 is top left. So remember, when we were doing the line, I said x is from here, y is from the top. So x0 y0 is there. Now if I say that y is 100, that means from the top left edge, which is in this point, this has moved down by 100. Okay, so the top left corner of my rectangle has, this is 0 and 100. If I make it the height 100, that means, there we go, and it is, let's say, only 50 down. My box is of 300 cross 150, and this is my rectangle. Okay, if height and width are 100 and 100, that means it becomes a square. Okay, now I think the coordinate system may be confusing a bit. Okay, so I am actually just going to do a quick bit of CSS here so that you don't have to remember it. So I'm going to say for the SVG, uh, set a background size of 10 pixels, comma 10 pixels. Mhm. And I want a background image. Okay, it is going to be a linear gradient to right, and I want it to be light gray because it's a word. I want it to be 1 pixel width. Then it is transparent and 1 pixel again. And again, this copy paste of this linear gradient and to right and to bottom. Okay. And finally, I need a background position of 0 pixel and 0 pixels. Okay, so that goes down. So don't worry, we will understand what's happening. And I need a class here. So all my divs, I am going to give them the same class SVG container because classes are supposed to be repeatable. Okay, so SVG container, let me go over here and I'm going to say dot SVG container. It has a width of 100% and it has a border of 1 pixel solid hashtag CCC. And we can give it a padding of, let's say, 4 pixels. Oh, there needs to be a comma here, and there needs to be a comma here. Ah, there we go. There are a coordinate system. Okay, so now it would be very easy to understand what's going on. And I think this 1 pixel may be too much. We can change this 1 pixel to zero point 0.5 pixels. Okay. So let me know if it is visible to you all, but it should be. So now the coordinate system will make much more sense. Uh, as I had, okay, wrong place. There we go. So let's go back to our line. So in our line, what we had said that the x position is 10, x1 and y1 are 10 and 50. So let's see. One box is of size 10 pixels. Okay. So one big box is of size 10 pixels here. Uh, if you want, we can make this coordinate a bit red. Uh, and that would be the border. This one. Hmm. And actually, different colors would be nicer. So blue and red. And that is a bad combination. I need yellow. And zero point 0.5 pixels is a bad idea. So let me go for 2 pixels. Okay, that's a bad idea as well. Let's go for light gray. And instead of yellow, let's go for light yellow. Okay, cool. So, or maybe a darker gray. And now it is not visible. Nice. That the light gray was a better idea, frankly. And instead of 2 pixels, let me just make it 1 pixel again. So this is just so that I can explain what is going on here. Okay. Uh, and how do you calculate the coordinate system? Because once you understand that, you can technically create anything. Okay, I think this should be the finest color. So one box is of 10 uh, pixels, let's say. So this is my 0 and x1 says 10, which means it is 10 inside. So that's my x1. Y1 is 50, so it should be 5 boxes down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is my x1, y1. And then x2 is 200. So that means from the edge it should be 20 boxes in. So let's do a count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So x2 is 20 and it is still 50 boxes down. Okay, so that is the coordinate system that will help us visualize it better. I don't know, someone's knocking at my door. Let me just quickly check who it is. Sorry, back. Yeah, someone was knocking at the door. I just had to quickly check. Uh, okay, so now that is our coordinate system. Now, similar applies to our next one, our rectangle, where it starts from 0, 0. So x 0, y 50. So it is 5 boxes down: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's at exact 0. The height is 200, which goes beyond my whole SVG, I think. Okay. So let's reduce the height of our this one to be like, let's say 20. Okay. So that means 2 boxes down. And the width is 50, which means 5 boxes to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. Okay, so that's our coordinate system, and that is our design. Now this would make much more sense now going ahead, right? Because now you have the coordinate system to actually count the boxes. Okay, so the next one, which is again pre-built here, is going to be a circle. So let me actually add comments. This is a line, this is a rectangle, and this is a circle. Okay, so in our circle, what do we do? So circle again is an element which is available as a pre-built element in SVGs. What does it need? It needs first the radius. Okay, what is the radius of your circle? Okay, I'm going to say it is 50, and if I do that 50 and I have not specified anything else, it starts from that 0 0 mark, and for radius 50 it creates an arc. I can again change the fill color to be, let's say in this case, blue, and that doesn't work. Oh, because, well, it is outside of my double inverted comma. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So, hmm, so it goes from that zeroth position for radius 50. What if I want the radius to be 120? Okay, then that means I have a bigger circle, right? And but an arc. But what if I want it to be somewhere here in the center? Okay, not at as an arc on the top left corner. So I have to specify the x and y coordinates. So in this case, I'm going to it is cx is going to be 100, and let's say cy is going to be 50, and the radius is going to be 20. Okay, so now let's count. So x coordinate of the center goes is how much? Is it 100? Okay, and what if it is 0? Okay, what if it is 20, like 40? So one, two, three, four. Okay, and this line intersect somewhere here, and that is four boxes in. One, two, three, four. So that is my x. Y is 50, so which means one, two, three, four, five. So this is the center line, kind of, and it is five boxes down. So that is my cx and cy. That is what they specify. So we can take this to be, let's say, 100, which means it is 10 boxes inside. And my radius could be, let's say, 40, which means it's a bigger circle. Okay, so there we go. Now you have learned how to draw a circle, right? And the coordinate systems, I'm hoping it helps. If there are any questions, let me know. Another element that I want to show before we move to polygons uh, is ellipse. Okay, there's also an ellipse in SVG, and as you may have imagined, it is ellipse. Okay, so now I'm not going to change anything here, and I'm going to say this is fill green. What happens? Nothing. Okay, because I have the wrong parameters. The cx and cy, they do specify the position, but our ellipse has two radiuses. Okay, it has two radii. One of them is a plural, one of them is singular. I'm not sure which one is which, but I think it has two radii. Okay, it has one on the x-axis, one on the y-axis. So this r needs to be divided into rx, okay, first, which creates rx. If I've said rx is 20 and I've not specified ry, then it means it's circle. Okay, it's going for the same one. But what if I go like, you know what, I need my ry to be 50. Now I've told it that my y is more stretched than my x. Okay, and that is a ellipse on this side. Okay, I want my ry to be 40, but I want my rx to be 80. Okay, so now I have a element which is stretched this ways. X and Y, again 10 boxes and 50 boxes to the center. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, not 10, 100. 150 boxes and Rx and Ry. Okay, I hope that makes a bit more sense. So now you can technically draw ellipse. Okay, and before we move ahead, I want to divide this whole thing into a few rows and columns. So let me just quickly do a row, which creates a div class row, which should be preparing to everything. And I need a column, a div class column, which is going to end right after the ellipse one. Okay, so that's my column. The whole thing is my row. I can have multiple columns. Okay, but for the time being, this will not do anything because I don't have any CSS which defines what is a row, what is a column. This is just class name. I need some CSS which actually gives a difference to the two of them. So for my row, I'm going to say that use display flex, and the flex direction is actually row. And for my column, I am going to say that use display flex, and the flex direction is going to be column. But also, if I do that, that is fine. Okay, cool. I think this is fine actually. So now I have one column of this. I'll have a few more columns coming up soon. So the next one that I want to focus on is going to be a polygon. Okay. So what is a polygon? A polygon, you can think of it as an element which is used to draw a closed shape. Okay, a closed shape with straight sides. But that means that you can have like kind of multiple there. Okay, so let's build one, and then it will make much more sense because we have a very nice coordinate system. So I'm going to copy this line. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, I should have some gap between this first column and second column. So I'm going to say that you have a margin on all sides of 10 pixels. I think I can also have a gap. Yeah, there we go. On the row side, I can have a gap of 10 pixels. Okay. Also, I keep doing this format document so that everything is properly aligned, and I'm using Prettier for it. Okay, another extension that you can find quickly, Prettier. This is a code formatter, and you can do format document with, and I have chosen Prettier. Okay, format document with Prettier. Okay, so there's my another box, but with a line. I don't want a line, I want a polygon. Okay, so let's change this line to a polygon, and that goes away. It doesn't help. Okay, cool. That's fine. I want to fill it with, let's say, purple color. Okay, still doesn't help. And a polygon, as I said, is used to draw a closed shape. And a closed shape needs to have some points. Okay, so let's start by adding some points. The first point I'm going to say is 50 comma 150. Okay, there. So that is where my polygons are going to be. So it starts at 50 comma 150, but then I don't specify anything else. Let's say you go from 50 comma 150 to 100 comma 100. Okay, and that does not do anything as well. I want it to go from there to somewhere where it comes back. Hmm, okay, yeah, there we go. This should do the trick. Okay, so what have I said here? I said that start from 50 comma 150. Let's count. Uh, or let's say 50 comma 100, 100 comma 100, and we need minimum 3 here. And what should my last one be? If I go for 120 comma 120. Okay, cool. Okay, so a polygon needs to have minimum 3 points. Let's start with our first point. I'm saying the x is 50 inside, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 inside, and it is 100 down, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it starts from here, goes up until 100 comma 100, and then from there it goes to 120 comma 120, where x and y, and it draws a closed shape. Okay, so that is a polygon. Now we can go beyond. I can say, like, instead of going from so 50 comma 100, or actually let's go a bit more numeric. So 50 comma 50 is your starting point, which would be somewhere here. Then from there go to 100 comma 100. You see that leave some space, and from there go to 150 comma 150, and from wait, what did I mess up? I don't think this would be theoretically possible. 50 comma 50, 100 comma 100, and 150 comma 150. Yeah, that should work, right? Oh, I think it's going beyond something. Okay, yeah. You always need to be aware of where the axes are going. So 50 comma 50, and from there I want it to travel on the same line, more x. So I want it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and plus 5, 15. So I want it to go 150 comma 100, and from there, once it has reached here, I want it to go uh, 80 comma 50. What am I missing here? 150 comma 50. Okay, so 50 comma 50 is here. 80 comma 50. So on the x-axis I want it to increase, but y is same. And then on the x-axis I want to go a bit more down, and the y-axis also needs to increase. That should go 80 comma 80, and there we go. Finally. uh okay, so does this make sense now? So I went from 50 comma 50, which is my x and y. From here, I want to travel on the same line, so the y should not change. And I go to 150 comma 50, which is increased x but no increased y. And then I want to go down. I want to be here somewhere, so my y will also increase, my x will also increase. So it should actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 100 comma 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. 100 comma 100 will actually do the trick of what I want to achieve. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So this is my inverted triangle. I have made that successfully because I followed the path of the polygon. Okay, needs minimum 3 points, and then you create a polygon. But now, if you have 4 points, what happens then? What if I go from 100 comma 100 to less x? Okay, so 80 comma 100. Okay, so that means I have gone less on x, but my y remains the same, and I end up with trapezium. Is it called trapezium? Okay, and let's say from this point I want to go all the way here, so which means x is 20, y is 80 or something. Let's say x 20 and y 80. So that means the point should go somewhere here. And slowly and steadily, you can now create any sort of shape like that. Okay. Uh, Actually, let's make it 60 so that it is a bit more on the left. Okay. So if from here you go to the right, and if you are conical at the bottom, you will end up with a diamond, right? So I hope that makes sense with respect to what polygon points do. Okay, we literally just did counting, and I actually made this shape or live here because I just had to count. Okay, I can make a parallelogram, is it called? By just going from this point over to this particular point, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100. Okay, 100 down and 20 on the left, 20x and 100y, and there we go. Now I have this kind of shape, right? uh, this is it's stretched a bit more. I think it should be a bit less. It should be like 20 or 30 less. Okay, so this should be 120. Actually 130 would be better. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I've created a parallelogram. Okay, so this is our polygon. We used polygon to created I think this is the correct spelling. I'm not sure. Anyways, so that is a polygon. Now for writing some text. Okay, writing some text. Now this is where it gets difficult. Okay, so I need your complete attention at this point. uh, so to write some text in an svg, and this is the most difficult one, you do svg and then you do text and you say mlh, or let's say GHW, and it doesn't show. Wow. See, as I told you, it's very difficult. So I need to specify the position. I need to go x is 50 and y is 50. And there we go. Wasn't it very difficult? That was a joke, by the way, people. Uh, a very lame one, but a joke nevertheless. So that is our text. Okay. Now this text doesn't help. What I said is it should be 50 inside. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 inside and 50 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where the first stroke goes in. First character or the edge of the character goes in. The words go in. And then it types inside it. But this one is not really amazing or exciting that way, right? What we want is, can we, it is English. I have no idea. Why? It is not. Page is not in Arabic. It is in English. Boring. Okay, anyways. Uh, and I had specified English as the language. I have no idea why it does not take it. Kill me now. Okay, anyways. Uh, Ignoring all of that, let's focus on this one. So there's a global hack week written, and this is not that amazing. That ways, you can write text. You can give it a position, the coordinate, saying this is where you start. This is where you start X and Y wise. But it does not really help because it's okay. It's all right. So let's go for the amazing one. So the amazing one is by using something called as path. Okay, so let me create a third column here. So there we create a path element, and we haven't started it, don't worry. So in our third column, let's focus on the path element, and this is going to be interesting. Don't need this, don't need this, and the path. Okay, so the path element, it literally follows a path. Okay, and it is used to, let's say, create a set of complex shapes by following a series of commands. Okay, so this is going to be a bit more nuanced, and I would prefer if you all please keep a focus on this one. So, path element to write m. Okay, so let's do that. So I am going to say path, and let's close the shape, and doesn't do anything, which is fine. And now let's start. So for a path, we give it a set of directions, let's say. So we first say that the mouse M needs to move to 10 100. Okay, so 10 on the X, 100 on the Y, which means it is going to be 10 here. Okay, it will be one box here and 100 down. And let me actually focus on it here. Let's do it live. And let me take it down a bit. Okay, mouse has moved to 10 comma 100. Now I want to draw a line L from there to, let's say, to draw M, I need to move up, then right, then down, then up, then right, then down, and then close the shape by following it the opposite way. So I first say move the line to X 100 but Y 20, which means we are going up. Okay, and let me also add a fill red. So let me change this here to fill equals red. Okay, I want to draw a line which is 10 20 and doesn't do anything. Now I want to draw a line uh, 30 20, doesn't do much, but now you see where we are going. Okay, so we have at least 3 points. And I'm also, there's also something called a Z, which means this is the end of the shape, close the shape. So with 3 points, we started from 10 and 100, which means we are 10 boxes down and one box right. We went from there to the same axis. Okay, so the x is still 10, but the y has reduced to 20 boxes. Now we went right, we increased the x, but the y was the same, 20. Now let's go ahead and we say that we need to go L would be 50, 40. Okay, we are slowly going to the shape of the M. Okay, currently everything is closed shape, which is fine, but here we go. So we went from this point, which was uh, 30 20 to 50 40, which means we have gone more x and more y. And now we need to, for M, we need to go up again, right? So we need to go y 20 and x will increase a bit more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes. So 70 20, right? So I'm going to say draw a line x 70, y 20, and there we go. And now the way we have two boxes here, we need two more boxes here. So x increases, but y remains constant. Well, x will increase by what, a factor of 2, so it would be 90, and y would remain 20. And okay, so we have gone there, and now we need to come all the way down. Okay, so our x will increase, our y will increase as well, right? So no, our x will not increase, right? Because it would be a straight line down here, so it would be still 90. Our y will increase. Yes, L 90 and y 100, let's say. And there we go. We are slowly making an M. So that's the shape. And let's go in a bit more. Now I need to go two inside so that I can kind of trace a block M. Okay, so I need to go two inside, which means two inside is reducing the numbers 20, not 20, 90 minus 20. So x should be 70 and y will remain at the same height. So it should be 100. Okay, so my cursor is here. It's not really visible because it's a closed shape, which is fine, but now we need to go up a bit. Okay, so now I want to go, x would still remain 70, but my y needs to decrease, so let's say 60. And now as you see, here we go. Okay. Hmm, cool. What next? So I have gone up there. Now I need to kind of trace an M, right? So which means I need a slight bend up here. Okay, so let's try that. So I need L to like draw a line where my X kind of decreases a bit and my Y decreases a bit here. And now we need to go up. Okay, yes. Can't go up from here. So down and up. 50, 80. And now I am going to decrease the X to 30 and Y 60, which makes it a M shape. And now we need to go all the way to the bottom. Okay. So my X will L. I want my X to be three boxes inside, which is 30, and my Y will go 100. And there we go. We have created M successfully. And if I reload, this shape will be gone because it's not saved. Thankfully, I copied. And there we go. So we have created a shape of M. And we followed the coordinate system, right? So now this is how you can draw a shape. Now, if how much ever I zoom, this shape is not going to distort. Images will. Images have a resolution. They will distort. I have reached the maximum zoom of 500%. The shape has not distorted. The color has not distorted. And we have kind of achieved writing M with this shape. right? There's a question here: would Polygon achieve the same goal? Yes, it would. But I wanted to show path elements so that you know how to draw a line. Most of the SVG icons, uh, mhm, mhm, seriously, uh, three SVG icons. Uh, seriously, I need S. Okay. Wow, there are no SVG icon website. Come on, someone copy SVG. Yes, finally. Okay, and now I go over to a z.html file, z.txt file, and let's paste it. That's fine. Most of them follow paths. Okay, they go like, here you go, and they use this dot notation because that makes much more sense, I think. But you move the mouse to 27.232, and take it from there. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but you get the idea that most of the SVG icons would kind of follow a path notation because that makes it much more cleaner with respect to, let's say, edges or stuff. Okay, I need something which is more edgy to make it a bit more understandable. Okay, anyways, and they have obfuscated it. But yes, the idea is to follow a path for drawing, let's say, boxes in our case. Okay, there's too much here going on. I'm trying to find an easy way to explain it. There is a question here. Need 2 minutes break. Don't worry, I'm going to give you 15-minute break after 5 minutes. Uh, so coming back, so we have successfully drawn M, and next one I want to draw is L, and then we'll have a 15-minute break, and I want you to try in that 15-minute break how to write H. So let's take this whole div. Actually, in this one, can I? Should I do it in this one? Oh, this is too much zoomed in. So reset. Uh, hmm, hmm, M, and now we need to write the word L. Okay. So for writing L, let's focus all our energies into doing it. I'm going to remove all of this. and it would be blue. So M, uh, okay. Now, last time we started from bottom left corner, right? We took our mouse here and then we started going top, right, bottom, left, top, bottom, left, top, left, bottom, and that's how we closed the shape. Okay. So we started from this corner and then we followed the shape around. Now I want to start from the top right corner. So 10 inside, 20 down. Okay. So we start from this bottom right corner and let's draw it from there. So we can go like this, right? Okay. So once again, let's do it live and so that we can actually see it. So 10, 20, that is where my mouse is, and I want to draw a line on the x-axis, 10, but the y-axis goes down. Okay, so I'm going down from there. I could go to or to, depends actually. We can try both ways. Okay, and then from there I go 80 and 100, and there we go. So we have created this for L. So we went down from 1020, we went down to 1000, then we went right where the y-axis didn't change, but the x-axis changed. Now I want to go 2 up, which means my x-axis will remain the same, but my y-axis should reduce. Okay. Now I want to go, how much was this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I want to go 2 in, so which means my y-axis will remain the same, but my x-axis is going to reduce by 20, which is 60 and 80. Actually, no, it should reduce more than that. It should only leave 20, which means it should actually be 40, 30. Yes. Okay, so leaving 20, and now we are 3 boxes in. Now we want to go up. Okay, so my x-axis needs to remain as 30, but my y-axis needs to go 20, and that's L. Done. Okay, and to end the shape we write Z. It does not make a difference, but it makes a difference to the shape itself that this is a complete shape. So M, L, there's too much space because our SVG boxes have defined width and height, if you remember, 300 cross 150. Okay, and now we can take a break. Let me come back on screen. So we have successfully written, I have not copied this over. You can write it on the other side as well. So you can go right, bottom, left, and that should close the shape. I think you could give it a try. I think you should give it a try. You all should give it a try and see how that goes. But this is what we have achieved so far. And let me push all of this so that you have the latest code. And this is the end of our session 1. If there are any questions, let me know in the chat when I'm pushing. So git add all git commit dash m. This was session 1, draw SVG shapes. Okay, and git push. So now if you check the repository, that should have the latest code. And there we go. It's in the chat. Okay, so if you do follow that repository, if you follow the code, you can literally reach exactly where I am. You can copy paste all the code if needed, and you can draw this M and L shape. And next one that we'll draw after coming back from the break would be MLH. Okay, the H part of it. uh, okay, Any questions, anyone? If not, then the last thing that I want to ask for is feedback. Okay. So this is the link to the feedback form. So the feedback form is, as the name says, it's a feedback. You can provide a feedback about what you found good in this session, what I could have improved on. Uh, and this was React part one, charting with D3.js and React part one. I know we have not reached React, and we will not until session 4, 5, 6. Okay, so four, end of 4 is when we'll actually start working with React, but we need to do D3 first. Okay, understand D3, and before that we need to understand SVG first, so that we see what all things are existing in SVG, which we'll utilize. Okay, because all of these are SVG attributes. Okay, this fill is an attribute, this drawing of a line is an attribute to SVG, the path itself, you can say, kind of an attribute to SVG, kind of being the keyword here. uh, yeah. So, anyways, going back, there's the feedback form. Please do provide feedback. I would appreciate any constructive criticism. And I will see you back in 10 means more stars. Okay. I'm joking. Again, whatever you liked, give it accordingly. If you didn't like it, give it 1 star and tell me what I did wrong. If you liked it, whatever. Okay. Uh, cool. And I will see you back in 15 minutes. Close your Twitch, get up and go for a walk, eat something, and then be back in 15 minutes for part two of this session where we continue. And then hopefully towards the end, we'll find some time to actually use D3 in our project. Okay, so at least one bit of it. Cool. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And I have not seen any questions, so I'm going to assume that everyone understood everything that we did. Cool. Cheers. Bye bye.